What is up, everybody? Welcome back again to the Geek Collector's Toy Mine, and for those who are new here, I am your host, the Geek Toy Collector, Anthony O'Brien, and today in front of me, I have showcased for you all here 3 of the most important Supermans in comic book history, all reimagined into 7-inch action figures by none other than McFarlane Toys. Here we have the iconic Christopher Reeve's live-action movie adaptation of Superman. Right over here we have the 1940s first cartoon adaptation, and of course we have the one and only first appearance of the character from Action Comics #1. Unfortunately, there's only one that is missing from this trio that I believe should get some recognition, and that is the legendary Kirk Alyn, who was the very first person to portray Superman in the live action TV adaptation. I sure hope that McFarlane Toys is working on such action figures so that I may add it to my collection. So, to start off this video, we're going to be traveling back in time starting in 1978 when we were all introduced to Superman on the big screen, who was portrayed by the legendary Christopher Reeves. This awesome action figure comes with its very own trading card. It shows the actor himself wearing the iconic suit with the American flag behind him. And then on the side, it reads McFarlane Collector Edition, stamped in silver lettering. And then when we turn the card around, it gives us a little brief summary on the character's background. Please feel free to pause the video if you would like to read it. Now, getting back to the toy itself, everything about this figure is spot on and flawless, but that's just me. After further analyzing the head sculpt, I can see all the details of the facial structure that resembles the actor. Even his gorgeous hair has a nice texture to it, it's nicely combed, and it has Superman's iconic curl hanging down from the side of his forehead. Going a little bit further down, you can clearly see the shape of his cheekbones, and if you look even closer, you can also see his smile lines. His Giga Chad chin also pops out really well. It's not as big as the Crimson Chins, but it's still really noticeable. The shape of the nose is captured really well, and of course his dreamy blue eyes also. Heading down to his neck, I really like how the suit's neckline is not fused with the skin like you see in other low-quality action figures. The cape is also a great touch by McFarlane. I love that he gave us a cloth cape instead of a plastic one, especially for this kind of action figure. With the wire on the sides, it allows us to manipulate the cape, giving us more freedom for awesome action poses. It'll also stay in place as well. And of course, let's not forget about the symbol that's nicely ironed on the back. It's exactly as you see in the movies, with the crisp black outlines and solid yellow color. I guess the one thing that is inaccurate about this figure is that the emblem on his chest is 3-dimensional instead of just being flat painted into the suit. For those who have seen the movies, the symbol of hope is sewed onto the suit and it doesn't pop out like you see here. Another thing I like about this McFarlane figure is that they made the outer red underwear out of a rubber-like material so that when you move its legs, it has more freedom to adjust any way you like. It also looks more natural when it comes to posing. Speaking of posing, let's move on to the articulation. I am very impressed with the shoulder joints. You don't really see this with other brands having that secondary shoulder rotator. I just love how it moves and how easily the arms stay in place. You can see that there's no sign of weakness. The shoulders are pretty sturdy and they can swivel freely with that rotator cuff. His arms can only extend up to a 90-degree angle, but you can swivel his arms up by putting him in his famous flying stance. Sadly for his head, that is as far as he can bend it back. Going a little bit further down to his arms, he has that nice bicep swivel like you see in most action figures. He's got that awesome double-jointed elbows and the wrist ball joint for more flexibility and movement. The same goes for his knees and ankle joints. One more thing that I should mention as well before I move on to the next two figures. This Superman also comes with many interchangeable hands and one interchangeable head. The extra headpiece that he comes with is dedicated to the third installment of this Superman franchise where he fights his evil self, which I so happen to have back here. There he is up close. Unfortunately, for this video, I will not be opening this. This is going to my personal collection and it will remain sealed. The characteristics of evil Superman is captured really well in this head sculpt. You can clearly see the 5 o'clock shadow going all around his jawlines and chin. You are able to notice his frowning facial expressions, and if you look closely, his eyes are just a tad bit darker. When it comes to interchangeable hands, he has a pair of karate chopping hands, obviously used for flying poses. He has a pair of neutral hands and hands for holding. He has a pair of closed fists. I have a loose one here and one's already attached to him. He has a pointing right hand. And lastly, his left hand holding the Crystal of Knowledge. They can all easily be switched off with little to no effort. Now let's go back even further in time with the 1940s classic animation of Superman and the very first appearance of the Man of Steel in Action Comics #1, which was released back in 1938. These two amazing figures also come with their own data files as well, but only one of them come with the awesome DC monument where you are able to proudly display the trading card it came with. A wonderful recognition to the very first Man of Steel. This one also comes with the silver lettering that reads McFarlane Collector Edition, and it gives us the iconic Action Comics #1 cover. In the back, it gives us a brief history of the famous hero and a little backstory of him as well. Please feel free to pause the video if you would like to read it. Same goes for the data file for the 1940s Superman. You may pause this part as well. I love how it gives us the same introduction as it does in the cartoon. If you haven't heard it, I encourage you all to look up the Superman cartoon, The Mad Scientist. When we turn it to the front, it gives us a beautiful mural of our Caped Crusader, giving us the heroic pose right over Metropolis. To save us all some time, I will not be getting into the articulation for these figures since it's basically the same as Christopher Reeve's Superman, but I will be comparing their superhero outfits and the rest of their features. Starting off with the 1940s Superman, I really like how they stay true to the design like in the cartoon where his eyes always appear to be squinting. I also like the extra details of his hair, even if you don't see much of it in the feature. It's got a nice texture to it, with some nice waves going for it, with the signature curl going down his forehead. The one thing I'm a little bit disappointed in is the emblem on his chest. If you take a closer look, it looks like it wasn't painted on very well. The lines aren't that straight, but you know, I have no choice but to look past it. You know, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna... You really can't see it from afar, but I will still treasure it. I'm also not a big fan of the suit's neckline. Unlike Christopher Reeve's, this just looks like two plastic pieces stuck together. Doesn't look natural to me at all, but you know, he is a cartoon, so I'm gonna go look past that as well. However, I do love that the cloth cape was included with this action figure, so that is a big plus by McFarlane. It is the same material as Christopher Reeve's, and then of course he does not have the emblem on the back side. Going a little bit further down, his red outer underwear is also made out of the rubber-like material. It is exactly the same as Christopher Reeve's as Superman, except it looks like they included more details to it with the folds, including his suit. Overall, the build of this figure is spot on. He appears to have more muscle definition on his pecs, arms, as well as his legs and neck. He's got all the features of what a superhero looks like. Although it is not all the way perfect, I still like the design of this action figure. Lastly, when it comes to interchangeable hands, he only comes with one pair of open hands. I wish they would have given him more, to be honest. To finish off the video, we finally made it to 1938, where the world was first introduced to none other than Kal-El, the Man of Steel, the Cape Crusader, the one and only Superman. The build on this figure really stands out from the last two I just showed. McFarlane made this one to be more muscular and well defined. You can see other muscles popping out through that suit. The head is well sculpted with a lot of facial details. His cheekbones and smile lines are more noticeable. The details of his hair is also constructed very well. I see a lot of layers in that nice set of wavy hair. His signature curl hanging off is not exaggerated as much, but you can tell it's still there. When it comes to the emblem on his chest, I do like that they used the original symbol of hope. However, it could have been a bit bigger, but that's just my opinion. I don't like that the cape is made out of plastic. Even though it still has a lot of nice details to it, I believe for the original Superman, he should have been given a cloth cape just like his counterparts. Overall, it's still a pretty cool looking cape. Another thing that I should mention that I'm not a big fan of is the unpainted boots on this figure. It just looks really awkward. It just looks like one big onesie with an outer red underwear. Perhaps I could paint it on myself. It doesn't seem like it'll be that hard. But they dropped the ball on this one, honestly. Lastly, when it comes to interchangeable heads or interchangeable hands, this figure does not come with any of those, but it does come with an accessory. It gives us these chains to wrap around our hero. These chains are pretty flexible and they are really nicely detailed. I do like how the light shines off of them. You wrap it around Superman like so, making it seem like he can't break off, but we all know that's not the case, knowingly that Superman can break off from these chains easily. You could also use it with the other Supermans as well, which is pretty cool. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I gave you not one, not two, but 3 Supermans. Before I end this video, I want to give a few honorable mentions to Jerry Siegel, the writer, and Joe Shuster, the artist of the original Action Comics #1, as well as Bud Collyer being the voice of the animated Superman from 1940. If you enjoyed today's content and if you found this video to be informative and entertaining, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I would also like to give a special thanks to all of you for helping us reach the 9,000 subscriber mark. We really appreciate all your support and our future subscribers' support. We really enjoy making these videos for all of you, and we will continue to keep making better videos than the next. We hope to see you all again on our next toy review video.